I'm Christine Vogelsang, in case you didn't know who I was. Married to this fella for over 42 years now. It was the fall of 1969, 6 weeks into our freshman year, when we met. And from the very beginning, we were inseparable. As Forrest Gump says, we were like carrots and peas. I was the carrots, definitely, and he was the peas. We met at the chapel, and little did we know that the church would have such an important part of our life. We were just a couple of kids, 18 years old, so who knew what was going to happen in our future. But I knew that he loved me. The reason I knew that is because he went fishing with my father. And he hates to fish, not my father, Bill does. And he gets seasick. And so the combination of the two, if he could pull that off for 4 summers, and make my dad happy, I knew that definitely love was in the air. The spring of our junior year, and by that time we knew we were going to be getting married after our senior year, after we graduated. He dropped the news to me that he decided to go into the seminary. No discussion, just told me and then left and went to baseball. He said, I have a baseball practice to get to. There I was. Now, this is not like somebody telling you he's going to be a lawyer or a doctor or something. You have a certain expectation of a lifestyle. But to be a pastor is a whole different kind of life-changing type thing. Well, the Lord had a little chat with me and said, it's going to be okay. This was indeed his plan. And to get ready for the ride.
He changed his major about 3 times, and his father said, you better make up your mind what you're going to be doing. There's no pattern on this. And he said, we've got to do something. Well, he had met Chris by that time. And he came home this one weekend and told us, he said, I want to talk to you too, because I think I've got a plan now. And that's when he told us he was going to be a minister, wanted to be a minister. We all were in shock, and Nancy and Rick were listening to this, and they said, what? But anyway, once he made up his mind, that was it. There was no falling back or anything like that.
Seminary life in Springfield. Bill had a scholarship, and I told him it was his job to keep the scholarship. And my job, which varied from year to year, either as a secretary or teaching in the classroom, it kept the bills paid, food on the table, and a roof over our head, various kinds of roofs. The donations to the seminary furniture bank found their way into our eclectic collection of furniture at our home. Thank goodness for those generous people who did those things. Bill took advantage of the political scene in 1976 while we were at the seminary. He convinced the Secret Service that he was a member of the seminary archives. Well, this had him rubbing elbows with notable press people, and it got him up close and personal to some pretty important people, such as President Ford and even Ronald Reagan and Nancy. Trinity Lutheran was our home for 2 years in Springfield. They listened to some pretty terrible sermons. In fact, even though this gave us a taste of parish life and what it might be like, Bill's first sermons were just abysmal. They were awful. And I had visions of 40 years of torture listening to them in the pew. So, thank goodness for Vicarage. Vicarage introduced us to a new culture in the South. First Lutheran in Chattanooga, Tennessee was our assignment. They welcomed us, and I became a teacher at the Lutheran school. And Bill launched into a whole new, wonderful sermon delivery, thankfully, and I breathed a sigh of relief. Meanwhile, the seminary was moving to Fort Wayne, Indiana. And once again, we started over with just one more year to go. We actually lived in a trailer park at that point. We were living in a 60-foot trailer, and we were grateful to have that. We survived the winter of 1978 in the blizzard and all the ice and everything else, and we were glad to have that roof over our heads, even though it was rocking from side to side at times. I needed to find a job again, and Kelly Services became our ticket to survival. I even garnered their Kelly Girl of the Year award that spring, so I guess I was making quite a splash in Fort Wayne in a small way. And now the call service was even more important. This is the highlight, even more so than the graduation, because this tells you what your life is going to be like for at least a year or more. Now we're going to be on our way. This is in May, and we were going back to the South. Graduation and moving day all came on the same weekend. There was a whirlwind that finally came to rest in Kingston, Tennessee. It's a leisurely paced lifestyle, and my big hair fit right in. We had a parsonage. Now, it had 3 bedrooms. Now remember, we just moved from a 60-foot trailer into a 3-bedroom home for 2 people with less than $100 in their account, their bank account. This was really a palace. Ordination was in Chattanooga, Tennessee at our vicarage church, because we had become very close to those people. And the installation was at Redeemer Lutheran in Harriman, Tennessee, our first parish. Well, of course, we had to get a dog right away. But it wasn't long before the Lord blessed us with 3 children in just 4 years. Carrie Ann turned 4 2 weeks before Noah was born, and little Jacob was right in the middle. Well, the church grew and prospered, and Bill's first building program took shape. Now, he was always looking for the unusual addition to his ministry. Would you believe holding the children's Christmas program in a hay barn? And of course, the temperature was well below freezing that particular night, too. It was a great experience, really. 6 years of wonderful people in ministry. It really was. But I could tell that someone was getting restless. Now, I had resisted calls during that 6 years, even declaring I wouldn't go to Lincoln, Nebraska, unless the parsonage had 5 bedrooms. You guessed it. The call document came, 5-bedroom parsonage. The Lord does have a sense of humor. Obviously, we didn't take that one anyway. But then one Sunday afternoon in 1984, I asked Bill what the rest of the Mid-South District was like. We lived way on the eastern part in Tennessee, and it stretched all the way, hundreds of miles, all the way into Arkansas, took up the whole state of Arkansas and part of Kentucky too. Well, he'd been on a lot of district committees at that point, so he knew quite a bit about different congregations. And he mentioned that there was a church that served the University of Arkansas in Fayetteville. The phone rang. It was the call committee extending a call to him to that very congregation. Okay. Well, we got out the atlas and looked up Fayetteville, and I said, well, are there any other congregations out there that you know about? He says, well, the largest church in the district is in Mountain Home, Arkansas. And he pointed it out to me. It's just a little south of the border of Missouri. The phone rang. It was the call committee from Redeemer Lutheran in Mountain Home to tell him they had just extended a call to him. Well, I said, it looks like the Lord is moving us to Arkansas. And I also told Bill to put the atlas away before we got another call. Now, the children were just little, and it was hard for that congregation to say goodbye to them. Noah was not even a year old. Carrie Ann was starting kindergarten, the poor little thing. She turned 5. She started school. She started a new church. She started a new Sunday school. It's amazing she even survived. Maybe that's why she's so resilient to this day. Mountain Home was a great, great place to raise a family. It really was. I got involved in a few fun ministries besides starting a children's choir. They asked me if I would play the piano for a kitchen band. And so I learned how to play by people just humming a song to me, and I had to learn how to make up accompaniments to some of these old-time songs. So it was fun, and sometimes the kids joined us. There were 2 pastors at this particular Redeemer Lutheran. Bill was the associate pastor, and the senior pastor was Ken Lampe. He was just a few years older, and so truly those 2 were like brothers. They supported one another, they cheered each other on, they got along great. It was just a wonderful partnership. The ministry prospered, and by golly, there was another building program. They added a preschool, and both Jacob and Noah graduated from that preschool. 5 years of another wonderful ministry with wonderful people. But at times, Bill was so exhausted from the numerous funerals that accompany a church that has a lot of retirees. Would you believe he did 250 funerals in 5 years? And that's just half of them. The other pastor did another 250, and there were some retired pastors who picked up a few too. He was tired. The children were all in school, and now I was the restless one.
Well, we always went to every church that he became a pastor. And each time I saw a growth in him and in Chris. I mean, the 2, and then with the children, and it was wonderful.
Well, you've heard the story that my bags were packed as soon as the call to California arrived. Well, of course they were. God had answered my prayer. The call package from Community Lutheran contained nothing but dreams and excitement expressed by a small group of people who were confident, very confident, that they were answering the Lord's call. The Lord's call to make disciples at the corner of Lake Wolford Road and East Valley Parkway. And I knew I wanted to be part of that. And Bill knew it was time to move on too. The children were stunned that their lives were going to be turned upside down. But the excitement and freshness of California soon captured their imaginations. Community Lutheran captured their hearts. It captured all of our hearts. Worshiping in schools, developing music ministries, teaching, more building programs. I don't know how many there were altogether, 4, 5. But the congregation knew how to celebrate. They knew how to celebrate what the Lord was doing and also celebrate the plans that He kept revealing to us. Our first congregation watched our children all be baptized. Our last congregation watched as they all confirmed their faith as young Christians. We are so confident that more milestones await the future of this congregation. And we are so glad that we will continue to be a part of it.
Hello, Dad. It's your number one son, Jacob. I want to wish you a happy retirement, and I wish I could be there with you on your day.
Hi, Dad. It's pretty incredible that this day is here. It's been quite a journey, and I've been privileged as your daughter to be a part of this with you. I know it is difficult for you to have all of the attention and focus on you right now, since you want the focus to stay on Jesus and all of the amazing people that are a part of the staff and ministries at Community Lutheran Church.
Dad, it is an honor to not only have had you as my father for all of these years, but also my pastor. As your son growing up in the church in Mountain Home, Arkansas, and here during the early days of Community, I can say that it was well noted how your strong, disciplinarian ways guided me during church service, in confirmation, and yes, the very few times Jacob and I were naughty in Sunday school or playing tag outside the cookie line with John Hayward. You were tough and had high expectations, but on the other hand, you were and always an extremely loving and compassionate father and pastor.
I just want to talk a little bit about these past years and growing up as a pastor's kid. There's really 4 things that I want to touch on. I think these 4 words, are something that you instilled in me, instilled in Noah and Carrie and our family. Faith, community, service, and family. A service, that was, I think I got the call to service when you asked me to help with the cleaning of the carpets in what was the parish hall, but it's now Katurkit Hall. If everybody can imagine the whole carpet, including the altar area, all the way down to the bathrooms and the narthex, and you rented I think it was a Kenmore from Ralph's, just a house cleaning, shampoo, and you asked me to clean those carpets. Now, it would have been nice to get maybe Stanley Steamer in there, but luckily you had me to do this. It took me 2 days. I was 12 years old maybe, and you told me, Jake, I'll buy you lunch, and there's $40 in it for you. I said, wow, $40, okay, sounds good. Little did I know what kind of job that was going to be. 2 days, back-breaking work, but I cleaned every inch of that carpet, and I remember you afterwards, or me asking you, Dad, can I have, I didn't ask right away, because I thought, okay, try to be respectful on this, so I waited a week, and I said, Dad, can I have my $40? And you said, Jake, I went ahead and donated that to the church for you. Now, not exactly what I had in mind, but years later I knew that this was my service to the church.
My dad, pastor. People ask me, what's it like to be a pastor's kid? And I say, well, I don't know life any other way. But as we've gotten older, my brothers and I have grown to appreciate even more how special it is and the unique life we have had because of you and Mom. because you are a team and you do both church and family so well together. I think back when we first came to Escondido. Your 3 children all still had Southern accents then after moving from Mountain Home, Arkansas. Talk about a move based on faith. And Pastor K. The 3 of us had a little trouble grasping why we had moved from a beautiful big church to a place that didn't even have a church building. That is until we met the people of Community Lutheran Church. The welcoming spirit of community was alive from the moment we entered those doors of the middle school.
Throughout my life, I had the privilege of seeing how you were able to be in and positively impact so many individual lives. Through joyous occasions such as weddings, baptisms, and confirmations, all the way to the most difficult and troubling times in loss and funerals. The time I finally got you was when I was an acolyte for a funeral in the mid-90s. I remember seeing the widow in the front row with the family. We all know how great your sermons on Sunday are, but the way you spoke the message of hope in Jesus to the family that day struck a chord in me that was so real for the first time in my life. I saw someone who had the gift of bringing such comfort to people most hurt through the message of grace and salvation. You took that gift and made a career of being a rock and selfless disciple for God's mission.
So many times you've gotten the call, at 2 or 3 in the morning on a Sunday. Maybe someone has died or someone's in need, and you get up and you go and you comfort that family. I think everybody knows that you are always there for so many people. That's what makes you special, no matter what. When someone is in need, you are there.
Those years were not easy, and frankly, it has never been easy as your ministry at Community has evolved. But we saw how hard you have always worked, and the amount of time you dedicated coming in early every day to work, usually well before the sun came up on Sunday, and going to meetings with church leaders and committees, visiting people at their homes and hospital rooms, to be there for people and their families.
It took a lot, but you were always there at every single one of my baseball games, basketball games, my soccer games, always there. No matter what, meetings. Okay, I have a previous engagement with to come see us play.
Looking back now, it is amazing the vision that you had for this church from the very beginning. We would go to the church site just to look at the land, and then when we finally broke ground, you would take us on a tour of the early markings to show us where each room in the church would be, and go there weekly at least to see each phase of the construction. And I think there was a little bit of eye rolling on some of those visits, probably even some complaints, when we thought nothing really had changed from the last time we came.
Having the church grow as it did, and all the work that you put into on all the committees and organizing people and getting people involved in the church and feeling a sense of community within our faith.
This is about your ministry that has always been about going beyond the walls of the church. How you've touched the lives of everyone here today and many who could not be here. To you, it's just part of being a pastor, but we recognize how special your gifts are to be able to oversee the administrative tasks and the many ministries of this church, and to also serve your congregation directly and be a part of your family. To be with people in their darkest hour, their highest joys, and so very often their final breath on this earth. How people don't think twice about calling pastor when they need to be comforted, to be prayed for, or to have someone just listen to them or even share a laugh, because we all love your infectious laugh. I know you consider it to be a privilege to be there for people, and your heart of compassion and service is truly amazing. It's an example to my brothers and I, and to everyone who knows you. It has been a privilege for me as your daughter and the other people in this room to be a part of your ministry that brings each of us closer to Jesus. Thank you, Dad. I can't wait to see what comes next.
I am proud of you being my pastor, my father, and you having influenced me to be a better man and servant to God and others. Your whole career has been nothing but this path.
You are the strongest person I know, to not only strength for our family, but strength for the church and being there for people. You can't do that without our faith in Jesus. And I know He gives you the strength to be the man that you are and the father that I've grown up with and made me into the man that I am.
Congratulations, Dad, on retirement. Even though in my heart, I don't think you will truly ever be completely retired. There will always be more opportunities to serve the Lord and use your gifts to reach and help people. But some final thoughts from your son. Please, for the first time in your life, put down the yellow legal pad. Do not create an immediate schedule and list of things to do. Do not answer the phone, and just relax, sleep, and enjoy the beginnings of your next journey with Mom. You guys are going to have the best time in retirement. Much love and God's blessings.
You always told me, like, Jacob, don't think about yourself. Think about what you can do for others. And no matter what, you always just were so unselfish about anything. Always giving your time, and I think that's what I just remember most. Giving your time to the church, your family, your community, and being involved and sharing God's grace with people whenever you had the chance. I just want to maybe end just say, Dad, I love you, and I wish you just all the best on your special day, and I will see you soon.